Alrighty, folks, welcome back to another episode of Live in 5, baby. Episode number 70. A clean, crispy number 70 on the top of my head. Oscar Sundqvist of the St. Louis Blues. Folks, that is Oscar Drunkquist, the pride of Northern Sweden, Stanley Cup champion, a guy I played with. Craig Berube famously quoted one time saying, Sonny just signed that big ticket. I think he could get those teeth fixed with all that money. Sonny had the definition of what we call summer teeth, Azo. Some are here, some are there. He looked kind of like that guy. I don't know what his name was from Ice Age. The squirrel-looking dude?
Yes.
What was his name?
God, what's his name again? Sam or Squid or Sid.
Sid. Yes. Yeah. Sid or Scrat. It was his name. Yeah, it was Sid. Yep, you're right. It was Sid. So, yeah, that's who I always compared Sonny to. He had those big old chompers. He had the eyes going everywhere. So, yeah, that was he's a beauty, though, and he can pound them. So,
I like that.
The beers. But, yeah, episode number 70, the captain is back. Before we get to that, the captain is back. Well, we always plug our ad reads. That is the official lifestyle and apparel brand of Live in 5. Folks, that is Butter Golf. You know that by now. Butter Golf, we do have some hats out there that you've seen. We do have some new color schemes. We're still hoping for our new shit. It's been 17 months. I absolutely shredded this guy last time, Azo, so we don't have to get into that. But Butter Golf is the official lifestyle and apparel brand over here at Live in 5. Go check it out at butter.golf. Azo, we are always brought to you by Mini Movers. Mini Movers, the official moving company of Live in 5. And I don't know if you heard my chin speaking about it last episode when I went solo dolo. There was a Mini Movers truck downtown Chicago actually moving someone down there. So that was kind of cool to see. My mom sent me a picture of the Mini Movers moving truck. So
Nasty.
Yeah.
I can't believe they saw it.
Yeah. The boys are doing some moves down into the old Chicago IL, the birthplace of the baby back rib. Azo, before we get to everything, what we're going to talk about, who knows what we're going to talk about today. Fella, how have you been? It's 2025. We do have Coach Dar coming on for our group therapy session leading into 2025. That is Darleen Santore, life coach, mental skills coach. She does work with a ton of high-level athletes, NHL, NBA, NFL, as well as high-level CEOs, owners of companies, CFOs, whatever you want to call it. She is a high-performance coach. So we do have her on today. It's going to be awesome to hear. I think that people will really like it. It just sets some goals going into 2025, different questions we had for the GOAT in Coach Dar. But fella, you're back from your fucking cruise. It's not a boat, Reese. It's a yacht. So take me through it, Azo. How's 2025 been? How was your 10-day excursion? It's been a while, fella. This is our first one together for 2025. So what's up, baby?
Yeah, it feels like forever.
It does.
Yeah, no, it was, I don't know. I felt like I was on that fucking boat for a month, man. It was only 10 days, but it was nice. Time slowed down a little bit. The days were a little bit longer. Each day was kind of a new adventure out there. But it's great to be back in reality. It was obviously nice to get a dose of, what the billionaires are doing out there. Probably 200 some days a year for those guys, which would be awesome. But no, yeah, it was a hell of a trip. I don't even know where to start. I mean, we were in the Caribbeans, Jordo, great weather. On the ocean. I don't know if you saw, but there's this island called St. Bartholomew's or whatever, called St. Bart's.
Yep.
Its nickname is Billionaire Island because all the billionaires in their yachts, drive to this island, especially for New Year's. It's a huge New Year's spot. That's where we were for New Year's, Jordo. And you can drive by all these boats and they all have names on them, right? So you're driving by, one of the cooler boats was called Chaos and it was owned by the Walmart owners, so you can look up all these names and you type them into your phone and you can see who owns the boat. We were right next to Jeff Bezos He's got a huge yacht, and then he's got another 150-foot yacht, Jordo.
Yeah, why not?
That's just a toy hauler. No one on it, no guests on it. No one. There's crew that live on that boat, but there's no guests. It's just to haul his cigar boat, his jet skis, his helicopter, whatever you name it. Fucking wild to even think about. It's just a different life out there, but it was a cool experience to see all that. It kind of motivates you too. You're like, holy fuck. You know what? Like half these guys are looking them up. They're self-made, Jordo. I could get there someday. Maybe not the way I'm doing it right now. I'm doing okay, but you got to be kind of a little prick to get there. But you know what? There's no barrier to entry to be a billionaire. You just got to fucking work your ass off and be smart as fuck. You know, like you might have to be a prick along the way, but you know, if that's the life you want to live, it's out there for the taking. And I saw it in real life. So that was one of the cooler parts. But yeah, and also deep sea fishing, Jordo. I don't know if you've ever done it. We've talked about fishing, ripping lips on this podcast before, but deep sea fishing is all time. I mean, you're reeling in. We were reeling in tuna and wahoo and barracuda. I mean, it was fucking just hammering beers, sitting back. We're trolling and we're just hammering them. Like it was insane. It's just such a fun. If anyone's got the opportunity to go do that, it's not always you're going to catch fish, but if you do catch them, it's one of the best things you could ever do.
So, Ozzo, what was your day-to-day on this boat when you're kind of cruising around through the different islands, you're deep sea fishing, you're crushing beers? Are you waking up and do you have any sort of routine? Can you work out on there? Do you just go out on the deck and sit there and soak up the sun, hang out with the squad? Like, is there any way to get any downtime if you want to get away for 20 minutes? Like, talk to me on the confinements and just the overall day-to-day when you're kind of cruising around on this thing.
Yeah. So we you stay on the boat, luxurious room, own bathroom, unbelievable shower, TV set up in there. So you always got that as your safe place, your home base. If you do need to get away now, this boat, I was probably on, Jordo, one of the smaller boats in the entire, bay. Every time we showed up to a bay on one of the smaller yachts, but this thing, I mean, it had, we had 2 living rooms. It had, 5, 6 different places to sit. It had a dining room up top, outdoor patio place. It had everything. It had a hot tub on the front of it. So you got plenty of options. But when you wake up, it's kind of like an all-inclusive resort, Jordo. You got, you've got breakfast, lunch, dinner, free drinks all day. Not free. I mean, you pay for them to get on the boat ultimately, but you're getting there's 5 crew on there. So there's 11 guests and 5 crew that live on the boat. This crew spends 300 days out of the year on the boat with different guests. And most guests go I think it's 10 days at a time or something. So that's what we went for. But this crew is their job is to, obviously drive the boat, keep you guys safe, but it's also to serve you food and serve you drinks. So you can imagine when you got someone coming up to you every other fucking 10 minutes, hey, can I refill your cup? It's pretty tough to say no. I mean, yeah, after maybe I think I lasted, Jordan, 4 days, drinking. And then after 4 days, I was like, you know what? No to every drink today. I know everyone else is drinking. I think everyone else went all 10 days. I was like, I got to take a fucking day off here.
Yeah.
This is insane.
Those first 4 days too, you're getting pinned, aren't you? All day?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
are we talking 20 to 30 drink efforts by the end of it, right?
Oh, by the end of the day, easily 20, I would say 30. Yeah. Because it's all day. And you're getting food all day. So I wake up, I have breakfast. Breakfast is at 9 a.m. It's a big smorgasbord. Basically, you choose what you want. You just pick what you want, sandwich, eggs, whatever, the whole 9 yards. And then after that, you got lunch at 2:00. So every day was a little bit different. Some days we might go fishing on the tender, which is a smaller. It's like a fishing / wake surf boat that's on the side of the boat for you to take into land or, do whatever you want. Go snorkeling, go fishing in the morning. Some days you just sit up top. I mean, on the weekends, there was football on, so you can do that. There's TV on there. But then you have lunch at 2, And then in between, breakfast and lunch, people are starting to have drinks already. And then lunch comes. Okay, now after lunch, you got dinner at 8 p.m. You're flooring it after lunch. I mean, you're like, let's go, like pedal to the metal. You might drive in after lunch to like an island bar just so you could get your feet on land because you're on this boat fucking tipping back and forth the entire time, so it gets to feel a little weird. Like when we got to St. Bart's, we spent actually the whole day on the island, and there's Rolex, Chanel, all the fucking stores on St. Bart's. So it's cool to walk up and down there and get drinks at restaurants, but it took about like 4 hours for all of us to get the sea legs out. Like we're on land, but you still feel like you're fucking rocking back and forth, like you're just, and you're not. And
I know. I wanted to ask you, Ozzo, like, when you wake up on a boat like that out at sea, are you like a little more stung? Or do you get any motion sickness? Or are you like, fuck, like, I wish I was on land right now so I could just go for a walk? Like, that would be my thing. Like,
yeah,
I gotta walk this off.
No, that was definitely one of the, because we'd be anchored in a bay. So there's no land near you. And to take the tender out, you're not supposed to drive it yourself. You got to get the captain or like a deckhand to help you do it. So you don't actually want to like make them work more and bring you to land just to go for a walk if no one else wanted to do it. So that was one of the downsides is you can't really just go for a walk. But I'll say like you get used to it. I never got sick from it actually never bothered me. And honestly, when I was going to bed at night, sometimes it kind of rocks you to sleep a little bit. But the sun and like, yeah, I'd wake up so like I stayed up till like 3-4 a.m. a couple nights, especially that New Year's night.
Yeah.
And, the next day, you just sleep like shit and you're so hung. But the next day you just jump in the ocean and you're in the sun and it's like, this ain't so bad. You got some food, you got some electrolytes, and then you start having another drink, and I mean, you're right back in the pocket. So
when you're doing that, do you feel like, when you're going island to island, can you see land, or are there times where you're not able to see land? I mean, obviously there's probably times where you're out there a little bit, but is it always docked, or do you always anchor in some sort of bay where you're kind of just looking around and you can see land?
Yeah. Whenever you're anchored, you basically have to be anchored in a bay just because
right.
It's not very wavy there. So like if you're anchored out in the middle of the ocean, like it's just wavy. It'd be way too wavy. In the bays, it's actually very calm. Like the rocking is very minimal. You almost don't even notice it when you're in there, just depending on the wind. But yeah, I mean, so in the Caribbean, we started out in Antigua. And then we took a 6-hour drive over to St. Kitts, Nevis.
Mm-hmm.
So that during that 6-hour drive, you're in the middle of the ocean. Sometimes you can't see land for a little part of it. But you can always kind of see like islands out in the distance. But that's when it's a little more rocky. But I mean, again, you're just sitting on the front of the boat, like on a boat ride with like you're playing music over the Sonos and you've got drinks being served to you and like snacks. And it's like, okay, this is a pretty damn good time. Like, a 6-hour boat ride doesn't really seem like a 6-hour boat ride when you're doing that shit, And then we went to St. Bart's after St. Kitts, and then we went to an island called Anguilla, and then we went back to St. Kitts. That's where we finished. But yeah, I mean, you're anchored always in a bay, and I don't know. It's just cool. Like the captain of the boat is 25 years old, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
Most of these guys are like 50. Yeah. So this guy's kind of a stud. From South America, from South Africa. He's a stud 25-year-old. He's a really cool guy. The crew was awesome. But yeah, I mean, every day was a little bit the same, but you're also like, you're in paradise pretty much. Like the weather's nice. Like I wouldn't be able to pull that off anywhere else, Jordo. I think jumping in the ocean really helps being hungover. Like it really brings you back to neutral.
Yeah, those negative ions, fella.
Yeah, like you jump in, and what I would do is like to get away from people, I'd throw in a snorkel, and I'd just snorkel around, like just,
right.
You're floating in the ocean. It's not like you can't snorkel on a lake because you got to tread water. In the ocean, you're basically just floating there. You don't even have to tread water almost. So I'd get away from people doing that, and that's how I get my hangover away. Is just float in the ocean, get the body back to neutral. I mean, it's the best way I've ever gotten rid of a hangover is doing that.
Yeah, I was curious just like how it would be when you're number one out at sea that long. Like I think I would maybe miss land a little bit. And then also for me would be how can I get away for a little bit? Because I don't want to feel trapped when I'm out there. Like, is this something you would do again, Azo? Would you do it with a big crew? Would you go with the same crew, different crew, maybe a different stack of islands? Is this something like you'd be like, fuck yeah, like that was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously I think one of the I'll say I went with a great group. Like I loved everyone on the trip, and that makes it. I would say if you're going on a trip with people, and I knew all these people beforehand too, Jordo, so it wasn't like random people. I would say you would never ever want to do this with random people. That'd be brutal because it is tough to get away with it from them. And then when everyone knows each other and you're the only one not with everyone, you kind of look like an asshole. So,
right.
That part, I would say I love the group I went with, but that was one of the downsides is you can't really fully get away. Like if you are away, you could, but then everyone knows you're not with them. So then they think like, oh, what's going on? Like something wrong. Like every time I'd go like chill by myself or something or lay in my bed, people would be like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I just need a little breather from everyone. We've been talking about the same shit for 6 days straight, so.
Yes. Give me 10 minutes here and I'll be okay. It's like when you're on the golf trip and you go hang out for 45 minutes in a room by yourself and everyone's like, fuck, where's Azo? Well, Azo hasn't slept in 4 days. So he's just taking 5 minutes here. He'll be back. He'll be ready to shoot. Yeah, that's what would be my thing too. I'd just be like, I think if you go with the right crew though, everyone's on the same page in that sense, unless they're just 3 sheets to the wind, they're all hammered and they're like, fuck, kind of want to booze with you right now, fella. But that sounds unreal. I think, is there different trips you could do? Is there could you do could I go surf and turf with it? Could I do 3 on the water, 3 on land?
What you could do, Jordo, is, if you're on this, you could bring it to a marina where it's like tied off to a dock.
Yes.
And then you're on the boat. So you still got the amenities of the boat. I would say it's a little better than staying at a resort because you've got like a living room and, you got your food there and your drinks there where you not have to pay for them. And you got your own room and you got a hot tub and place to swim and place to sit. But then if you're on this marina, you can get off on the dock and go, take a taxi into the town or go on a hike. Go to there's resorts in the dock, so you can go to the resort and hang out on the beach if you want. So you have that option. We were anchored most of the time in the bay, which I would actually, if we were to do it again, I'd probably want to be on the dock more often, just so you have that option to walk around and do your own thing. But yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different people. I would like to do it. We had 11 people on there. It'd be awesome to do it with 5 to 6 guys or people there, a little less people. So where you can kind of get away and you still have people to hang out with, because then I think about Jeff Bezos on his yacht by himself. And I'm like, fuck, that kind of seems lonely,
Right. And that thing's probably not rocking as much either though.
No, that thing's like an apartment on water.
And, that's like a Carnival cruise ship. But
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he's not rocking around. I don't know what he probably just works on there. And I think I was asking the captain, and he knows the captain that drives that ship. And he's like, yeah, Bezos is on it all the time. He just works on there, and he's just, so you could take it to the British Virgin Islands. You could take it to the Bahamas. In the summer, I think they bring it up to the Hamptons area, and they go around, Nantucket and the Hamptons and stuff. And then you also had the option of shipping it over to the Mediterranean. So those are kind of the only places around the world that I think you take these big ass yachts that are just people are living on them and not fishing and stuff and not doing work.
How many feet was it?
This one I was on was 100. It was either 100 feet or 100 yards. Might have been 100 yards. No, 100 feet. It had to be 100 feet.
Yeah, I was going to say, damn.
Yeah, it was 100 feet, and I think Bezos is on a 500 footer or something
Yeah, six and a hook.
Yeah, Yeah, but I mean, it's a crazy life. It's really cool. Like I was, I'm obviously just fortunate to know. I was invited on this boat. I obviously paid, but it was unbelievably cheap. Like this boat, just say like there's a couple boats that charter out there that are like 200 feet long, and Jordo, they're $10 million a week just to go on for a week.
That's insane.
Can you imagine dropping 10 mil for 7 days?
Fuck, that thing better come with a basketball court. Better have an Asian massage parlor on there. They better have everything on there.
Some of them had the basketball court and the tennis court on the front dock of the fucking boat.
Yeah, and I'm gonna need that tennis court to be clay too, or grass, because hard court's not doing it. I actually need all three surfaces. Otherwise, I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
that's nasty. Yeah, I think I think I would do it, Azo. I think I would be a guy though that like some nights I might need at the hotel. Just get me on land, get my dogs up, and then I'll rejoin the crew. That would just have to. I would be a surf and turf guy. I don't know if that's possible, but
it's possible. I mean, especially. Yeah. Now obviously, Jordo, like when it's not your boat, like you're not making the calls, so that that part is a little bit like I feel like a little bit of a pigeon. But I'm here. I'm having a good time. I'm thankful. But if that was your fucking boat,
true.
You're having a great fucking time on there.
Yeah, Azo, that sounds like unbelievable experience. I mean, like I said, I always go back to the Starsky and Hutch line. It's not a boat. It's a yacht. And anytime you're out there floating around on a big boy like that, docking up, hanging out, I mean, what a way to rein in the new year. Where did you ultimately fly out of? Just lastly, just out of that one island?
Flew out of St. Kitts Island. Yeah. Airport, little sketchy. Those Caribbean islands, they're not, a little bit third world. I'd say the people live in there. Oh, so yeah, those airports aren't as efficient as ours over here, but they did the job. I flew American, Jordo. That's kind of all they had going out there, and that airline sucks. I got on a Delta Bird out of Fort Lauderdale after, and it was like, holy fuck, this is so much better.
Yeah, it's crazy because I mean, American. Not to go on another Frontier rant, but American is not quite Frontier or Spirit where you just have a bus pull that you get a seat assigned at, right? You don't have to just hang on for dear life. Yeah, but it's still not perfect. All those birds are all old. And even if you get a first class seat in American, it's not even a nice seat. Like it's just old, it's stinky, it's been farted on for 30 years. And you just don't feel great. And none of those birds for American have TVs on them, even in first class. It's just kind of just junky. A lot of United birds, the older ones, are like that too. Delta, honestly, is just so much more superior than all of them right now in my power rankings.
They are. It's crazy how far they've got the screens on every TV now, on every seat. Like even if you're in the way back, they got the screens on there. You can't find that anywhere else. I don't know. And the tickets really aren't that much more expensive than the other airlines. I don't really understand it.
No. And speaking of not a great airline, but it is Allegiant, and a lot of UND fans, Azo, are down here this weekend. This will drop tomorrow on Saturday for the people, but I'm wearing my UND colors. We have ASU, and we have the UND Fighting Sioux in town for the first time playing ASU. This is the first NCHC meeting ever in conference history. I love it. I'm going to both games. I mean, you can just feel and sense when you're around people from North Dakota. You don't even have to be in the vicinity of them. You can just feel it in the air, how drunk they get, how much they're just excited to see palm trees. I mean, they treat this place, and which I love and is near and dear to my heart, in Phoenix and Scottsdale. They think they're in Turks and Caicos. They actually think they're behind and out of, U.S. soil and out of, country lines. They think they're out there floating in international waters like Oslo for 10 days. But folks, this is still the same country. But you know what? It's going to be unbelievable. The spectacle tonight is Mullet Arena. The iconic Mullet Arena, Oslo, is going to be painted green. I can't wait. There's no students in town for ASU because obviously the kids are on college break right now for the holidays still. But that just means more green, more Kelly green and black in the Mullet Arena. The place is going to be buzzing like a no vacancy sign. I mean, I just can't wait. The only thing I'm scared of, Azo, and I don't even know why I'm still trying to do it, but it's just like that hard-headedness of me. And we do have the legend Uncle Rico visiting me this week, and he is just completely flooring it. But dry January, and I'm trying to do it probably the hardest week of the year if you don't consider the golf trip the hardest. I mean, you're not going to stay sober during the golf trip, but this is for sure on paper the Fighting Sioux in town in the greater Scottsdale area with all the fans, all the beauties, trying to stay sober. I haven't cracked yet. It's crazy I haven't, but you got any veteran advice for me, or do I just fucking throw it out the window and just get cut one of these nights? I'm not going to do the back-to-back, but I want to hear it from the captain and what your advice, because I do really like the idea of trying to just do something hard, do the impossible, right?
Yeah, and that is, for me, that's probably one of the hardest things I would try to do. I mean, I don't know if I'd be able to do it. My only suggestion, like if that was me, I just would try to not be around any of them, but you're going to be around them. So I don't know what you're going to do, man, because you're talking to all these guys and
they're just pinned.
Dry January isn't going to fucking register in their brains. They're not going to care.
I mean, Rico,
what does that mean?
Rico was telling me, Azo, about two guys that a little bit older than us. They're in their 50s. Seriously considered trying to do Dry January. They lasted until 11 a.m. on the 1st. I go, Rico, that's not doing Dry January. They didn't even make it to lunch. He's like, well, they were at lunch and they cracked. They tried. I go, no. They didn't try. They woke up for 2 hours and decided they were going to booze, not at dinner, but at lunch. He goes, well, it was a Saturday. I go, no. New Year's was on a Tuesday. New Year's Day was on a Wednesday. So it was on a Wednesday they cracked. He goes, oh, it's a holiday. It's a Saturday. I go, no, it's not.
Is New Year's Day a holiday? Like, is that a holiday? Or is that just I don't even know.
Yeah, it's you usually just start off the year hung and then you go from there, right? Usually it's the Winter Classic and you just go from there. It's like, fuck, I'm going to think about doing Dry January. I have all these New Year's resolution. I wake up in a panic. I have a little bit of anxiety. I'm like, holy fuck, the New Year's here. But that is not trying to do Dry January. You can't wake up and just hit the piss. Like that's not how it works. So Azo, I just don't know, man, because I want to have some fun, but it's just like that doesn't register in their head. And yeah, I've been sober the last 2 days hanging out with Rico, and that's been hard enough to do, but it's just like, I don't know. I think listen, I can get away not drinking at the game because I don't need to have a Lagunitas siloed 24-ounce beer or just some shitty rail tequila. I can do that, but it's like the pre-party. If I go over to this pre-party in 2 hours, I'm going to be pinned.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, what am I supposed to do?
I don't know how to interact with those people sober.
No.
It's very hard. I'm interested to hear how you do it. I usually have advice for things, Jordan. I don't have any advice for you. I don't know how you're going to do it. So I'm interested to see what your plan is. And
afterwards, like, again, I can sit somewhere and be sober. I listen, I like boozing. I like having a good time. It's just more of the fact of like, there's a lot of people coming at your chin and they're going to want to sauce.
That's the part. Like, you don't need to booze. It's just the amount of people that are going to be giving you shit for not having a beer in your hand. It's gonna become overwhelming, and they're not gonna let up.
Have you ever done Dry January?
No, I never have.
I've tried it before, and I think I lasted until like the 12th. I've done a stretch though, like through, I want to say February to like almost April one year. I did like 62 days, which was pretty good. I mean, they're not handing out a medal or, a badge of honor for that or a Purple Heart, but that's a pretty good stretch, all things considered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do, Azo. I'm going to get down to that environment. It feels like it's one of those destination games when people don't even realize, like, no, this is actually conference play. Mark sitting at dinner last night was telling us, like, all of Kelly's my aunt's friends, that basically they think it's like a destination game. They're like, we're going to go to the game on Friday, and then what are we doing Saturday? Well, no, there's a game. Like, they just thought it was like a one-off game. They thought it was like the Vegas game.
Yeah.
Like, nobody knows.
It's gotta feel like that for them. It's crazy. This is like playing the Bulldogs. This is like going to St. Cloud. Like, this is a fucking conference matchup here. This is just a normal. You're gonna have this every year almost.
That's what I mean. It's just like the thought of palm trees coming from Grand Forks. And listen, I love people from Grand Forks.
That's my home. I love people from Bismarck, Wisconsin. It's all the same shit. I'm just fortunate to live down here now. The summers suck, but right now it's the best place in the world to be as far as I'm considered. So when you get out of the frozen tundra and you get down here, number one, you think there's no rules, which again, that's not the case. We are still on our own U.S. soil. We're not Turks and Caicos. We're not somewhere in Mexico where you can just get away with something. And two, Ozzo, it just sparks that, that those dog days of bundled up in your Canada Goose and you're walking around, you're miserable and you're hung. Like, no wonder why they think it's a destination game, because
100%.
you're going to get so fucking pinned. You're going to have no idea. And by the time you even come out of that fog, you're already on the bird back to good old GFK, baby. So I'm excited to see it. And it's a personal problem. Like, I don't want to feel like a pussy for not boozing, but it's like, dude, I've boozed a lot in my day. It's like, fuck.
I know.
We'll see.
You shouldn't feel like a pussy for not boozing, because you certainly don't have to. It's going to be so hard because you're going to have so much peer pressure from, people of all ages. There's probably going to be 15-year-olds down there. Nodak fans are going to be like, "Oh, you're not drinking, pussy."
Yeah. Well, we see you on the social medias talking a big game. We see earlier just this social media guy. You're not fucking boozing. What are you, a quitter?
Isn't that your job to booze, buddy?
And, and like we were talking with Dar, like when one of your buddies or someone just random just hit you with, "You've changed, man." All right, man. All right, yeah. I'd take 30 days off of the whole goddamn year, and I've changed. Yeah. All right, man.
You're right. I have changed, buddy.
Oh my God. It's just, yeah. So I don't know, man. Like, wish me luck. We'll see. I feel like I can't go to this pregame party, even though I want to. It's just like these thoughts are running through my mind. And it's just like, you shouldn't care what anyone thinks. And I still got to get to that point. I'm getting closer to it, Ozzo, but guys like your dad's age, my dad, like guys that don't really drink, like, and haven't for a while, like they could give two fucks. They just do their own thing. And that's like the most powerful thing you can do. If this is the old life advice podcast of the year, like just doing your own thing, that's what's really cool.
Yeah, no. That is what's cool, is when you can do your own thing. Like if you're able to not drink with these guys, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just going to be real tough.
It's going to be real tough, my friend. What are we thinking for this matchup, though? I don't know a ton about ASU. Obviously, Greg Powers, friend of the show over here, stopped by and was kind enough to share his thoughts before going into the season. ASU right now, Ozzo, ranked 16th, Nodak 14th. It's going to be a good tilt. ASU's been great in conference play. They swept Denver. They've been pretty solid. Man, Nodak's got their hands, not tied, Ozzo, but this is, it's going to be a test for them, and their backs are against the wall, and they're fighting for points every goddamn night. So I'm excited, and I'm a little bit nervous to see how this one goes, especially on Friday night, 8 p.m. start here, my friend.
Yeah, no, it's I think it's most likely going to end up, if you look at the comparables, they've played comparable teams. They've played some of the same teams, even non-conference. And honestly, ASU has played better this year. If you look at who they've played and their scores, ASU looks on paper better than North Dakota. Yeah. Now, North Dakota I watched their last series. They looked good. It seems like they looked good against Manitoba. I didn't watch that game. So I do think North Dakota has the upper hand. I do expect them to win at least one game on the road here, but we're most likely looking at a split.
Yeah, and they do have that one kid that's supposed to be a decently high pick this year for ASU. He's a forward, Ozzo. I think his last name's Potter, maybe, not Harry. I remember that was who Greg Powers was telling us about, right? It was the kid that was supposed to be a decently high pick. I'm just blanking on his name right now. I believe it is Cullen Potter, who has 10 points in 18 games. So not terrible for a 18-year-old out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's where he says he's born. But yeah, he's been a decent player. I think he's a little bit undersized, but I think he's a guy that could potentially be a decently high pick. I don't know, first, second, third round, somewhere in there. So ASU, the time I watched them, and I think, this is going to drop obviously on Saturday, so we'll see what happens on Friday. But North Dakota's got to get on them. They're a little bit bigger. I think ASU a little bit more undersized. They try to play a skill game. They got a little bit of scrappiness, but that rink is going to be great. I can't wait to get to these games, Ozzo. If I'm predicting, I'm hoping for a sweep, but I don't know. Well, you like to think that boys could do it, but maybe a split. I'm going to go with North Dakota, a win, and maybe like a shootout loss or something like that.
I would take that for sure. 100%.
Right.
That seems like a good weekend from the boys. And yeah, this Arizona State team is no joke. I mean, they're a really good college hockey team. So it's going to be a great series. It's just hilarious. It's 2 games because it does feel like a destination one and done game, like where you're just out there having a vacation, excited for one game. I bet you the UND fans are pissed. It's 2 games. They're like, "Fuck, we gotta go to 2 games, eh?" Like, fuck.
It's so funny too because there's been events all week here because obviously the Arizona to North Dakota connection, with all the snowbirds, the farmers, and just everyone being down here. And this is where they vacation. And there's been just a ton of different alumni things. Obviously, with Rico staying with me, I've gotten the lowdown on that also. But yeah, looking forward to it, fella. Wish my liver luck. Wish me luck. I don't know if I'm going to have to go in there with a ski mask on or whatnot, but I might just kind of mingle in and around my uncle. I think that's a good play. Just hang out with Mark.
Oh,
watching the game with
100%.
him.
Great watch with Mark.
Yep. So I think that's the play there. Ozzo, obviously say hi to friend of the show, Clint Borby. But college hockey, Ozzo, we don't talk a ton of it, but that is when Nodak is in town. That is that. I want to slide over to the National Football League. We have the wild card starting up this weekend. I feel like the NFL season was whatever, but we are here now. We have some solid matchups, Ozzo, and we're going to go into our lock of the week. Saturday, we got Chargers-Texans. That's the LA Chargers -3. The Steelers-Ravens, that's -9.5. Baltimore. Mike Tomlin, though, don't count the kid out. Broncos-Bills on Sunday, -9. Buffalo. Packers-Eagles. Ooh, that's going to be a tough one for the Pack. Philly, -5.5. The Commanders-Buccaneers. That game will be at 6 p.m. local standard here in Arizona. Tampa Bay -3. And then the Monday nighter, Vikings, Rams. Check your chin at the door. Ooh, that just, I don't know, man. Minnesota -3 in Arizona due to the wildfires. They moved that game. If I'm looking at Sam Darnold, I'm a little bit shaky on that one also. So I want to start with you, though. I wanted to pick your chin. First off, I want to give you my lock, and then I want you to give the people, what do you think on your squad on Monday night in Arizona due to the fires?
I like it better than being in LA. Not that the Rams have great fans anyways in LA. I don't think it's mostly just people on vacation, so it's going to be the same thing. Jordo, I don't feel too good. I watched that Monday night game against the Lions and Sammy Boy Darnold. That was a playoff game. He was not good. I'm a little worried. We're going up against Matty Stafford and Sean McVay. It ain't looking good for us. I don't know how Minnesota's the favorite in this game, to be honest. So
I know. Well, I mean, their body of work through the season, you have to give them that type of respect, right? And especially where the money's going to be. The money's all going to be on Minnesota. But, dude, this 10-7 Rams team, especially in Arizona, I think anything can happen. I do think, obviously it would benefit it if it was in – why was the game going to be in L.A. anyways? Why is Minnesota a wild card at 14-3? Oh, because Detroit won the division.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
First ever 14-win team to not win the division and be on the. That's so It's such a Viking.
Yeah, it's such a Vikings bounce. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, it's classic.
I was just thinking about that. I was like, wait, oh fuck, they lost to Detroit last week. So yeah, they're going on the road, dude. Road dogs 14-3, and they've got to play a neutral site game. But I do think you're right. I do think it helps. I think that stadium SoFi, it just looks a little futuristic, and Sammy Darnold could be blinded by that. Now you go into State Farm, you don't have the fans breathing down your neck. You're in Arizona, you're not in LA. I don't know. I think it could benefit him, but dude, I don't know, man. Sean McVay, 10-7 coming in, nothing to lose. Like, do you think it's going to be a game where the Vikings defense ultimately wins them the game, or is it one of those games where Darnold is going to have to throw for 1 or 2 touchdowns, probably to Justin Jefferson, and they're going to have to establish a little bit of an offensive game?
They're going to need the offense. Their defense will play well.
Right, I think so too.
Like they've had a takeaway in every game so far. They've done their jobs. You just need the offense to show up a little bit, and they didn't show up at all in Detroit. Like nothing, no touchdown, nothing. You need to put 7 points up on the board when you're inside the 20-yard line. And if they can find JJ and Jordan Addison or Hawkinson in the end zone, I think they have a good chance at winning this. It's just it's all going to be dependent on Sam Darnold, and you don't know what these guys are feeling when they're heading into the playoffs. You know how much bigger that is. It's so much more weight on your shoulders, and how does the guy handle that? A guy especially like Sam Darnold, who's never been there before. Matt Stafford has won a Super Bowl. He's going to be calm, cool, collected. It's not a good matchup for the 14-win Vikings.
No, I know. And it's just the thing is, and especially in playoff football, you look at your game manager and you look at who has experience and you look at maybe even your coach. Now, I don't think the coach is everything, but I do think the quarterback and your facilitator has a lot to do with that, especially instilling confidence into your entire team. Like, you don't want your defense having to go out there and be like, we absolutely need another stop if they get scored on, because we know we're not going to put up a ton of points. And that could be a situation where if Darnold gets the shaky boots and he freezes up and his nutsack goes up to his chin, and you got a guy like Matthew Stafford slinging it, just freewheeling back there, because you know he's going to be loose, Azo. He's going in like a good quarterback would, with an underdog mindset. A guy like, he's not Tom Brady, but he is a winner. He has won a Super Bowl. Okay. So guys like that, they just ultimately, they're going to have that just more just stoic approach to their game, right?
100%.
Versus a guy like Darnold. I mean, he's had a good season to this point, but it could come crashing down. So are you going to go with that for your lock of the week, or who are you going to take for that?
No, I don't have a good feel for that game at all. I do think the Vikings are the better team. I don't like the matchup. I don't like playing against Matt Stafford. So I'm going to stay away from that. My lock of the week, it's going to be the Ravens covering 9.5 points over Russ. Russ and the Steelers. Sounds insane, but Russ is so bad right now. He's just classic Russ. It's classic Steelers. They've got a good regular season team. They're over 500. They make the playoffs. That's it. They ain't going any further. And this Ravens team's hungry.
How good is Lamar Jackson too when he's dancing back there?
Oh,
like, he's just so silky. I love watching that brother play. I really do. Like, he is so sick. He's just clean, calm, cool, like just so silky. Dude, he's one of my favorite athletes of all time. Also, the way he can like just maneuver in the pocket, it's almost like a wax on, wax off, where he's not even worried about getting hit.
No. He thinks it's funny when guys are coming at him. Like, there's no way they're touching him. It's funny watching guys think they're going to try to tackle him. It's like, why don't you just kind of like box out and just like, stay away from him? Because you're not going to tackle him like one-on-one. There's no way.
No, you're not. And the thing is with him is like I said, it's just like guys are coming at him and he's just throwing him like a little shoulder fake, like just and he moves one guy one way, and then the next it's like a pump fake, and the guy's like on his ankles, like just breaks him, and then he's like juking a guy, and see you later. He's one way, or he fakes one way, he's on the other side. It's just like he's moving guys across the field constantly. And that run he had like 2 weeks ago was insane when he said he was in half speed. I just love that. He's like, oh, what you talking about? Like, I was in half speed. He's like, Lamar, you ran the fastest you have on the field all season. He's like, oh, really? I was in half speed. Like, he's just chilling. Like,
oh yeah.
And I don't know if he's the MVP this year. Joe Burrow is probably the MVP, right? Also, if we're looking at it, like,
yeah, I mean, if you're looking at it too, and there's so many ways you could look at it, Jordan. That's why the MVP is almost, it's always such a funny. You could give it to so many guys. Like, think about this, Jordan. Lamar's got Derrick Henry. Okay, how much attention does that take away from him? Derrick 100%. Henry's one of the, he's one of the best running backs in the game to ever play. I mean, he's unbelievable. And then Lamar's also got Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers. Unbelievable. Well, now you look at a guy like Josh Allen. Who does he have on his team? He's got no one. I mean, there ain't no play. He doesn't have any playmakers. He doesn't have a good running back. His team's actually not, it was supposed to be in a rebuild, and they've locked up the second seed. They're a higher seed than the Ravens. So is Josh Allen? I know his stats aren't the same as Lamar's, but Lamar's team has been dummying, like they put up points. It's so hard to tell. And then Joe Burrow has the best season. He's got the triple crown. I think he's got the most touchdown passes, the most yards, and the most completions out of any quarterback. And he's not even in the playoffs. So it's like.
And after getting his bullpen exposed too, like
yeah.
You can't forget he battled through that too. Like,
yeah.
Remember how choked he was when that bullpen got exposed? Oh my God. The next day he's like, look,
I'm just going to come out and address it. Like, he didn't even take questions about it yet. He just had to address his bullpen.
Yeah, it was that was funny. He's got the girl cleaning the place. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
good choice.
Yeah. There was like rumblings too. She was a lesbian. It's like, well, if there's going to be one dude that's going to change her back to going straight, is Joey Ice. It's Broadway Joe. So yeah, I hope he wins it. I love Burrow. I wish they were in the playoffs. I wish I could see him go against one of these wild card teams, but it is what it is. Their start of the season inevitably wasn't good enough, and we'll hope they'll be back there next year, especially with Jamar Chase, because those guys are crispy. Also, I'm worried about my Green Bay Packers. -5.5. Philly with Jalen Hurts coming off of concussion protocol. Sounds like he's going to play, because any NFL guy coming back from a concussion only misses 1 week. Whether you're knocked out, you can't see straight, you're dizzy, you're just going to be cleared. You're going to get into that blue tent, and they're going to say, hey, take these Percocets, and we're going to get you out there in 7 to 10 days. So it sounds like he's going to play. Green Bay going into the bank, going into Philadelphia. Do we think we have a chance here with Jordan
100%,
Love?
100%.
I think we do, man. I just don't know if I want to throw any cheddar on that game, but I do think Green Bay +5.5, man. That's
a terrible bounce for the Eagles too, the 2 seed, and now they got to go play. They got to have the Packers come to town. Brutal bounce for the Eagles. If I was the Eagles, I'd be fucking pissed, because the Packers can easily beat them.
100%, and I think I'm going to go with that for my lock of the week. Now, is it the smartest bet, folks?
Yeah,
I probably will say number one, no, it's not. But that is betting with my heart, and I'm going to go. And they say you probably shouldn't bet with your heart, but you know what? I'm all heart this week. I'm going Packers +5.5. The other game that I'm kind of looking at here, Ozzo, is just Buffalo -9. Like, I think they're going to absolutely piss pump the Broncos, but that game's on Sunday at 11 a.m. local standard here. What do you think about that game? I just think Allen, I think they're going to roll them. 9 points is a lot in playoffs, but I do think, they're the better team there.
Yeah, and that's a tough place to play in Buffalo too.
Right.
And yeah, the Bills and the Ravens, Jordan, they got a lot of pressure on them, because they got to get to that Super Bowl, and they got to go through Patrick Mahomes. They're going to roll through the first round, both those teams, but man, one of those teams is going to go see Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship, and think of the calm, cool, collected Patrick Mahomes coming in like he's laughing. These guys are shaking in their boots. It's a Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to be in the Super Bowl again.
They're going to win it again, and they had the most mid-season ever. What did they lose? Did they lose 1 game or 2 games? What did they even lose?
They lost 2 games because they played their third string against Denver the last week of the season.
Insane. So yeah, we got some good tilts. This is always obviously the greatest time of year, the NFL season. I lose a little bit of interest, also, I'm not going to lie, from weeks probably 10 to 18, and then it heats up. And every pass matters. You get back to just good old clock management, good coaching, and yeah, like the Chiefs are going to win again. I don't even see them losing ever. Who's going to beat these guys, especially in a big game, especially when you have the stripes on your side too. These the last 4 years in Super Bowls, these guys have had 3 holding calls against them. That's it. So yeah. So all right, we're going to slide over to the one hitters with the captain now. Ozzo, there's a lot of talk, and not a lot of our viewership per se would say watches the association, but I wanted to bring something to your attention over here because I love the association. Jimmy Buckets wants out of Miami, and it is clear that they are going to sign a deal in place, and it sounds like he's going to be heading to the Phoenix Suns. So if Jimmy Buckets heads to the Phoenix Suns, is this team any better? The Suns are out of a playoff spot right now. Do you like the move? I was always skeptical of the KD move when they traded away Bridges, Cam Johnson. CP Smooth was actually nasty too. That's campaign. And then they had CP3. I thought CP3 was getting a little bit old, but they ultimately maybe could have replaced him with just a point guard, a guy that can play off the ball play on the ball for Book. And now it's just that whole thing's been blowing up. And Bradley Beal, dude, he ain't it. No. KD, obviously on the back nine. I just think they don't have a floor general. But Jimmy Buckets is one dude that if he can get back to that form of that run he went on a few years ago, all the way to the finals, man, this guy, it might, I guess you got to try to throw the kitchen sink if you're the Suns and try to fix something because they're dog shit right now.
You might as well. I mean, I don't like it really at all, but I think it's like what it reminds me of, Jordo. It's like the Nashville Predators this year. You get those guys into Nashville, Stammer or Marchessault, and all these guys, and supposed to be good, and they suck. It's just like I don't know. I don't think it's going to work out. I think I don't know what's going on at Miami, but Jimmy Butler's had a problem. Like, I love Jimmy. I love the way he plays. I love his fucking tenacity. I loved that when he was in Minnesota, he called out the soft guys and beat the starters with the guys off the bench. I love that shit, but sometimes you do take it too far, and it seems like he just takes it too far sometimes, and it bothers me a little bit. But I just can't see how that's going to work out with there's only one ball, and you got Jimmy Butler, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. Like, who's going to have the ball?
Yeah, because Jimmy Butler's a guy that needs to pound the pavement with the rock. Like, he needs the ball. And, not that he can't facilitate, but he is a scoring guard, whether he's bringing it up the floor or not. Same with Book. Like, these guys ultimately are like a 2 guard that can play point guard. And KD's always a guy that can adjust on the fly. But ultimately, you do need your touches. And Buckets is one of those guys. Like, he's like a really good player on a team that probably can't win unless they have an unbelievable supporting cast. Like, he's not like, a 1A type of player in the NBA. He's never been that way. Can he go through a stretch of games and play like that? Absolutely. But then he kind of, like you saw when they did make their run to the finals, he ultimately fell off a little bit in the final and wasn't able to kind of, make that magic happen. So I don't know. I mean, he's a hilarious character. I do love Buckets in his own right because, number one, you never know his hairstyle coming to the wood. And two, when he's in the right mindset, man, he is a fucking dog. Like, he is. Yeah. Like, he goes and eats out there. Like, there's not many guys. Yes, there's not many guys like that. Like, I would say in the NBA right now, in terms of that big of dog, you got like Anthony Edwards, I think, has that MJ dog in him. Buckets, Himmy Buckets has that too. And there's a few other guys that maybe are on that same level, but it's just funny that he got suspended for whatever, like 8 games, or had to forfeit over like 3.5 sheets. It's like, fuck, it's like, that would have been nice to have Jimmy. And Jimmy, you can't be that mad, fella. Like, you're playing in Miami. You said everything is good off the court, but it's like, bro, just collect your sheet, shut up, try to get traded. Like, I don't know, like, you're in South Beach, bro, or you're in Brickell in your Key Biscayne area. Like, you're in Miami, dude.
Dude, I just don't like these guys bringing it to the media. Like, if you got a problem, like, handle it in-house. Like, no one cares outside of it, like, that you're not happy. You're making $50 million a year. Like, shut the hell up.
You're banging Puerto Rican women and all of these Colombia. Like, it's the only city in the U.S. where you need a passport to get into. Like, Jimmy, just relax, man. Get yourself to Prime. Get to the Prime Steakhouse, as it's called over there. I believe it's Ocean Prime, right on Miami Boulevard. Just hang out and just you'll be all right. Jimmy, you're gonna be okay. So I'm interested to see how that shakes out, Azo. When they brought over KD, this new owner is just trying to flex his cock, and I just think they just ruined what they had. I mean, they went all the way to Game 7 or 6 against Milwaukee that one year.
They wrecked it. I think the Timberwolves wrecked it too with their trade. It's tough.
Yeah, it is tough.
That's the NBA, though. That's that's why we love it.
Happens.
Yep. Okay, folks, moving right along to the last section of the show before we send it over to Coach Darleen Santore. Folks, this week's People's Insider Term of the Week is Mike Stiffner. Now, what a Mike Stiffner is an absolute stiff one. And we're talking about a fucking stiff drink. We're talking about a 90-10. We're talking about that bartender at your local dive bar that starts pouring the Jack Daniels, and he's looking around having a conversation with someone directly behind him, and it's been 10 seconds. And he still has that thing vertical. There's 4 or 5 shots in that by now. And by the time he tops you off with Coke, well, there's barely a splash of that. And you sip one of those things and you suck it down and you're like, oh my God, I'm going nowhere. I'm going to belly up at this bar. And if I have another one of these, well, frankly, I might pass out, puke, or honestly just tip over. This Mike Stiffner I'm drinking right now, this Stiffy, is fucking straight 87 unleaded. That is pure gasoline. I mean, this thing, when I'm drinking it, again, has so much goddamn hair on it. It's honestly starting to tickle the back of my throat, and I kind of like it. So, folks, when you're out there and you do have those spots
that you know of, your local watering holes that makes just a stiff one, you can refer to it as a Mike Stiffner. All the good bartenders out there that say, you know what, I'll have a double, fella, and he gives you a quad. And you know what, Ozzo, you can always appreciate that, a guy for hooking you up, because not only is he an alcoholic, but he wants to make you one too and make sure you go home on the same level as he. So that this week is this term, in terms of the People's Insider Term of the Week, Mike Stiffner. Ozzo, nothing better than a stiffner.
No, the Mike Stiffner is all time. When you know it right away when it touches your lips, you're like, oh fuck. Oh, thank you, thanks, brother.
That hits your chin. That hits your chin, and you're like, holy fuck, dude! Like,
I'm gonna be buckled.
What are you making me back there? And this isn't a short glass, dude. No wonder why this is straight. Is that rum? That's all rum. Holy fuck.
Those short glass stiffeners are brutal. I like the tall glass stiffener. The short glass stiffener, I'm like, Jesus, what are you trying to make me fucking drink here?
It's always funny too, because there's a spot on State Street in Madison, and I think you've been there before. Mondays. And Mondays is an iconic spot. Now, all the hockey guys that play for UW, they go to the KK. But Jay Swish, back in the day, playing for the rival squad, I've been going to Mondays since I was 17. That's where all my local beauty friends from Verona went when they went to UW or surrounding community colleges. So we would always go to Mondays. And the bartender there, Gart, who's an absolute piss tank, but he also snows on the job. He keeps a bag of Coke on the top shelf where he also keeps a bag of cash. So he's running some sort of, I don't know, scheme out of there. He will drop down low to the ground probably like every 7 minutes, Ozzo. And it kind of like the bar sits up a little higher. So if you drop down, nobody can really see it. And he goes up, grabs his bag, goes down low, does a little T-boat and does a bump, comes back up and makes you the stiffest drink you'll ever have. And Gart is about 70 years old now. He's a part-time owner there, or part owner, part-time bartender at this age. And he is just an iconic figure. Anytime you go in there and he pours you one, I'm telling you right now, it's at least 4 or 5 shots. It's in a tall glass, but it's at least 4 shots, which is just absurd.
It's absurd to have that in one drink, and then you're going home. I mean, that only counts as one drink in your, in your register. So that is what's crazy about that.
No, it's just all time. But yeah, so that is the People's Insider Term of the Week. Ozzo, beautiful day here in AZ. I am gonna get my boots on the ground in Tempe here shortly, get my shit together, pack my shit. What do you got going on this weekend, fella? You just chilling? You hanging out after?
Yeah, I was actually debating. I was looking at flights out there because I wanted to get out there, but I decided it was best for my health to stay back and sit on the couch this weekend.
Okay, well, if you change your mind, I'll probably come off self-suspension to booze, so just let me know.
It's still a possibility, but I'm leaning towards just laying on the couch.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. It's fuck. I'm just in one. Once I see these people, I'm just. I think I can do it tomorrow, or today. I think I'll be strong. But dude, you know how fun a matinee is, like.
Oh, it's
like a 5 o'clock game. Like you start at like 3 o'clock,
you
and then
get to bed at a good time too. Like,
and then you still have like a nice dinner afterwards too. Yeah. Like I can go eat, and then like I'm feeling good. I like at 31, like I just enjoy just a nice meal, just sitting there and just getting pinned. Like, and especially a game before that, like that's like you can't draw it up any better.
Yeah, no, it's the best.
Fuck. Yeah, we'll see. God damn it.
Good luck out there, my friend.
I'm just wrestling my mind for no reason. Like why? Yeah. Like you know, like just all the booze. So, all right, folks. Well, speaking of good times, well, we have Coach Dar coming on next. This is Live in 5, episode number 70, the pre-show, tape to tape with the captain. It's always good to be back. We were off for almost 2 weeks now, so or maybe even 3. I don't know what it was, but it's awesome to see your chin snapping around tape to tape. Folks, that was Live in 5. Up next, Coach Dar. Woo! Alrighty, folks, welcome back to Live in 5. Reoccurring guest, Coach Dar. That is Darleen, sweet Darleen, baby Jesus. I gave you the Chicago Bulls intro last time, but for a reoccurring guest, I just bring you in with, open arms, ready for a big bear hug. What's going on, Coach Dar? I iced you on a workout this morning. I had my buddy Uncle Rico in town. He kept me up till 2 a.m. watching him drink Coors Light. I'm still off the piss. I'm on dry January, but this asshole comes into town. One of my good buddies for the North Dakota series this weekend. They're playing ASU in hockey. He keeps me up, so I iced you at Solid Core. But how was it this morning? We're big into Solid Core these days, as we are.
We are locked and loaded. You iced me. I was there. I stayed consistent. I actually, my alarm went off and I'm like, all right, we're doing this. We're doing this. And then I'm like, you're going to be there. We're doing this. And then you're like, I got to sleep. And then you didn't even end up sleeping. But you still got it in, you said.
I did. Yeah. I went in at the 10 a.m. session and I did the old, what was it today? It was triceps and hammies. Holy fuck. When they put you on that gray side, and I don't know if any of these people are going to know what we're talking about. There's probably a few out there that do solid core or solid chin, like I call it, but it's hard. It's no joke. And it's always, a little bit intimidating, not intimidating, but it's always funny when you walk in there, especially as a dude, and you're outnumbered by about 16 chicks. So they're looking around as like, number one, is this guy gay? Number two, what is he doing here? Is he strictly coming in here to try to wheel me? Maybe the latter, maybe whatever's going on. But it's always funny when I walk in there because the gals usually give me like a little bit of a look. But then, you know what? I'm busting my ass in there. I'm staying in my lane and it's all good.
Oh, they're happy. They're happy. You get a pick of the litter, by the way. So it's to your benefit. But it's 100%. Hard. Pilates is humbling because you get in there and you're like, I could do this. And then, I'm in a solid core specifically too. I'm out. I'm like, I could hold this for 20 seconds. And I'm like, mind over matter. I'm like, shit, I got to stop. Like, it hurts.
Yeah, it's one of the harder workouts, I think, in terms of just like the workout classes. You got places like Orange Theory, you got Berries, you got Solid Core. Yeah. We hit a place like Body, F45. Me and you, Coach, for people that don't know, we are workout buddies like that. And we've hit, I think, every workout class possible in the greater Scottsdale area. There's maybe one or two we got to try, but as far as that, we got everything covered.
We got them covered as long as you're allowed back in.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, well, fucking Body, I almost, whacked myself out of there. I had my bullpen going in there. I had a different lovely coming over to me every time saying, hey, how you doing? Listen, I'm mid single leg squat right now. We gotta cool it off. Like, come on. Like, I'm trying to focus too. You can't be distracting me. We can't talk in between supersets here. So yeah, we've seen some people that I know, friends of the show over here at Live and 5. Let's put it that way. But Coach, I wanted to ask you, like, we were talking a little bit before, and we always get a kick out of it because, again, we're going to stay on the workout side of things, and there's a place in Scottsdale we go. It's called Body. It's similar to a HIIT style F45 type class. They pack everyone in there like a goddamn gordita. It's like, sardines. It's like you're boarding a ship in the old days heading to Ellis Island. You're just people on top of each other. You're running around like you think you're aboard in the Mayflower. But when we go in there and we work out, it's usually anywhere from 45 to 100 people. And every time over the last few years since we've been working out there, around this time, January 1 is when you see those numbers of people just skyrocket. It's like, the other day there was a wait line to get into that class, and there's never been a wait list there. It's just like the amount of people that say they're going to do these New Year's resolutions is what I'm saying right away from the jump of January 1 is hilarious. And
then we know by tomorrow, the 10th, by literally January 10th. What did you say? 91% of people fall off?
It's 91% of people.
Are you shitting me? Like, imagine 91% of people who said, all right, I'm committed. I'm going to make my health better. I'm going to be at the gym. I'm going to whatever it is they set, 91% are done with it by now. Like, that's weak. That's how weak we are right now as far as going after what we want for our goals.
And why do you think that is, Coach? Like, do you think it's just because people, they set unrealistic expectations for themselves? Yeah. Are they trying things, obviously, they're clearly not used to? And are these just unattainable goals that, I even see guys going there to the gym and they're like, I'm going to start doing 2 a days. Well, fella, you don't even do 1 a days. So why are you going to 2 already?
You know why? I always tell people too, don't write New Year's resolutions. Like, start there. It's not like, this is where we're going to start. And I'm going to write this goal. What I do and what's worked for me and everyone I work with is we set like our intention for the year. Like we set an anthem. What's your anthem for the year? What's your word? If your life's a 30 for 30 and each year is its own episode, like of the docuseries. So you have to figure out like what's going to be your anthem for the year. And then you figure out what is it that you want. And it's so people that write down, hey.
Ozzo's in here, baby.
What's up, Dar?
Ozzo, good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you too.
We were just talking about why 91% of people give up on their New Year's resolution by now. Like that's weak, so weak. I was saying it's because they just write, I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week. I'm going to lose this much weight. Whatever it is, but there's no reason or why. And it's not like a lifestyle. It's not a way of life. Like they don't even, you have to literally go, okay, this is who I want to become this year. This is the better version. This is what it looks like of who I become. And then if you're going to go to the gym, it's not just because you want to lose some weight. It's because I want to be stronger. I want to have this energy. Like there's got to be why power. Because I have this saying, why power over willpower. If you're relying on your willpower, by January 10th, when that alarm goes off, you're hitting snooze and you're like, oh, I just need some sleep. But if you have why power, like, I want to be healthier. I want to be a better version of me.
Dar, what if your why is like, oh, I just want to have a really ripped body so I can wield hot chicks? Like, is that a good enough why?
You know what? If that's what's going to motivate you, I don't care what it is. I mean,
I like it.
Honestly, think about it. When people are getting fit, though, they're using it so that it's gonna be a little bit of their weapon.
Yeah. No, I mean, I personally like to be fit just because I feel better throughout the day and it helps me be more productive. So.
Yes, I mean that's the healthy version of that.
Yeah.
The wheel people, I don't care what your motivation is.
Yeah.
We need some why behind it.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole reason why I'm in the gym 6 days a week, Ozzo, is because I don't know what's out there. Now, I don't know what's going to come across my plate, but I want to be prepared just in case. I don't want to take myself out of the game right away because I have a barrel and I have a double chin and I look like shit. If I'm 6'2", 6'3", and I'm in good shape, I got a chance. I'm not saying it's going to close a deal, Dar, but at least I've done my prep work before in my pre-scout to get myself a chance, at least getting a look.
Do you from a woman's perspective, a girl's perspective, if I see a guy that's not taking care of himself, that goes right away to me to look at like, this guy doesn't have the discipline for things in life. Like he legit is not putting in the time to certain things. And I know life ebbs and flows, like work or things, especially if people in corporate, there's certain years, but discipline is shown when you take care of yourself. And so I'm looking at it as, okay, you're taking care of your health, you have discipline, that's attractive.
Right.
Sure.
And so our buddy in town right now, Uncle Rico, was telling me about a couple dudes he hangs out with in Grand Forks, and they were trying out this dry January, like I'm trying out right now. I'm 10 days in, 9 days in. And he said that his buddy lasted till 11 a.m. on the 1st. So he didn't even make it to lunch.
No.
Yeah. So what do you call that? Is that no self-discipline? Is that an alcoholic or is that something else?
I mean, that for sure could be a problem that you can't make it a day. So we would have to talk about that. Or again, you're like, you know what? I just don't give a shiz. I don't know. That's no discipline at all.
He was telling me that story. It was so funny. He's like, yeah, these guys were, and Ozzo, you know him. I'm not going to say their names, but he was, they were trying out dry January and they made it to 11 a.m. at the Long Haul Saloon and they cracked. It's like, what do you mean they tried?
Caesar looked too good.
They've been up for 4 hours at most. Like it's the 1st of January. What do you mean they made it till 11 a.m.? So
it's, you know what about that though? Like, I think the hard part with alcohol is it's part of the social too.
Yep.
So we're all,
for sure.
You know, like I'll be at the Suns game tonight and I'm doing dry January and just the natural, when I walk in, the lady knows right when I walk in the drink I have at the club and I'm like, no, I'm good. And everyone's going to have a drink and I'm like, I just need club soda tonight. But it's that social, you have to actually break the pattern of the habit because that's part of it too.
Yeah.
Dar, I know you like the New Year's resolution, and it is a good thing in theory, but I just went to the gym. I was on vacation. I went to the gym, got back. I knew it was going to be packed. I get in there. I'm there every day. I see everyone that's always there. I see just 30 brand new guys that I've never seen in the locker room before. All, I don't want to stereotype, but 35 to 45, overweight, wife probably. It's like, what are you guys doing here? You're going to be gone at the end of January. Like this, just get out of here. I know it's your resolution, but there's no way I see you here in March.
Well, 91% of them won't be. And actually, as I had said at the beginning, I don't like New Year's resolutions. I rather have set your intention. And I was saying at the beginning too, everyone's life is a 30 for 30. And each year is a new episode. It's your new anthem. You literally have to be like, what is this version of this year going to be for me? It's got to be way bigger than, all right, finally I'm getting back in the gym. And it's got to be a lifestyle. This is, if you all are amazing in what you do, and athletes too. But for those guys you're talking about, they actually have to shift their head to say, if I was a pro athlete, this is just what I would do to get up every day. So I tell them, you are a pro at what you do. So start training your mental like you're a pro. This is just a non-negotiable. You get up, you work out, you take care of your health, and you take care of your business and your life. But they don't have that. They don't even see themselves like that. That's where the switch has to happen. That they have to see themselves as a better version. And it's taking care of their health is number one, because then mentally everything else is better too for their job and their families, because they're going to start to feel and look better.
For sure.
Dara, I wanted to ask you, and I think it relates to a lot of different people. I think a lot of people ultimately want to set goals, especially around this time, foreseeing their future, looking into the new year and having different aspirations for themselves. But I don't think a lot of people know how to set goals. I don't know if they know what it pertains to set vision boards, or how many goals to set and how many is realistic. If you're looking at just 3 to 12-month goals and short term, or forecasting your future. So can you touch on that a little bit in terms of how to set goals and how to make them achievable, but also in a dreamer's mindset at the same time?
So I'm going to tell you, one of my friends who I think's brilliant, Jesse Itzler, he started NetJets. He's married to Sarah Blakely, who started Spanx, and got to $1 billion. And the reason I'm bringing this up is he is an endurance, he does ultra, Ironmans, all of that. And he set this program where you set a Masagi. Masagi is set one epic goal a year. What's one thing that kind of scares you a little bit that you're like, if I did this year, it would be so awesome. So for him, it was an Ironman. 1 year for me was obviously getting a book done. This year, mine's going to be getting a TED Talk, because to land a speech in 12 minutes is super hard. Yeah. And so, but it's what's that one thing? Start off with what is that one thing that would be so awesome if you accomplish that? Because guess what it's doing? It's shifting your mindset to this is the person I'm going to become for this year. So you set that one thing. It's a vision. It's your intention for the year, and it's who you see yourself as. Then what you do is you set up, what are daily vitamins I need every day? So daily vitamins are okay, I need a workout every day to feel good. Or some people love, I'm going to cold plunge. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to fit in Pilates. I don't know what it is, but it's almost these are your daily vitamins that when you put them into your day, 2 to 3 things, you just feel better. Because again, all this is how do you become better? And then what's really cool, because this is not just for fitness, this is all of life. He has a Kevin's rule. A Kevin's rule was a cop. And he said, I'd always said I was going to do these things. And then unfortunately, things move on and it never happens. And so he said, I decided enough of that. If I just every other month set up, I'm going to go on a buddy's trip for a weekend, we're going to do this, or we're going to golf here, or we're going to set up something every other month, or with your kids, we're going to do something as a family. This way you don't miss out, because what happens is our life either runs us or we run our life. So this is how you start to get control of it. And then the last thing is you do one elective a quarter. So an elective is something you want to add in or learn. So for him, this first quarter, he's I'm adding in way more water, because I don't drink enough water with all the endurance training. It could be maybe you want to learn a language. For me, don't make fun of me, Jordan, but I play pickleball. I'm learning pickleball because tennis is too hard for me right now. So, but like I'm like committed to doing that for this quarter, and then maybe it'll be golf the next quarter or something. But do you see how like the intention of me setting this is so much different than here's my 20 goals. I have to hit all these all at once. It breaks it down, and I've been doing this system for like 4 years now, and it's been awesome. Plus, for like 15 years, I've been writing just like my visions and my dream and my intentions, and everything's come to fruition at the right time because I'm focused on it every single day.
Yeah, and keep it over there on the pickleball side too. We don't need you guys coming over to our tennis courts. You can battle for
I know
court 7 at your local park, and just make sure those tennis courts are nice and open for Jay Swish to go run around. But
I promise you, I'll keep that open for you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you because I think like what you said is great for not only guys like us to hear, but people listening in terms of setting these goals with intentions. Now, I want to take this a step further. Some people, and especially people in and around our age, you're almost afraid or scared of what other people think when you're prioritizing yourself versus others. So maybe one way you want to make yourself better is drinking less and staying in on a weekend night, and maybe doing some different things like, hey, maybe even taking up reading or studying a different thing or learning a new skill like you had mentioned. How do you break that mold of inevitably changing and evolving as a human versus what people know you as today? And they're like, oh my God, like as a dude I know, and especially Ozzo knows, is the worst words in a locker room to really get to a guy's heartstrings were, oh fuck, man, you've changed. You know what I mean? It's just like, those are always fuck, you know, like, have I really? Like, I stayed in one night, like, but you know what I mean? Like, to level up, there's certain things you need to do, and ultimately we all evolve. But how do you kind of compartmentalize or get through that, you know, working through that in your head?
I'm going to give you the wise words of LeBron James. He said, when someone said to him, you've changed, he's like, I hope I have. He's like, I hope I've changed. I hope I've grown. I hope the version you meet today is not the same version a year from now. He's like, because every year I want to be better and level up. So look at it almost as a confidence card for you, that if you have leveled up and you have changed, then that's awesome. That it's not a negative. It's actually a positive. And by the way, when you look at Kobe, you look at LeBron, you look at anyone where they truly every year are pushing themselves to be better, other people that want to be better start elevating to that anyways. And the people that are talking shit, that it's just because you're a mirror of what they're not doing, by the way. They want to do it, but they can't, they don't have the discipline to do it. So yes, sometimes it's hard. And it's funny. I just had a friend over yesterday. He just got a video sent to him on his group guys text that was like, oh, as soon as you get a girl and you start getting past like 30 and you start staying in a little bit more, he's like, we don't see you as much. He's like, yeah, because I don't want to be at the bars like I used to. So it is changing, and it's naturally what happens, but you're becoming a better version of yourself. Like, you know, what you did a few years ago, you probably want to evolve from as just life goes on. It's just the nature of it. But I'll say, like, taking control, and I look at LeBron to this day. Like yesterday, he made such a play. I was like, this guy's 40 and crushing it still because he takes care of himself.
Yeah. That's like my worst nightmare, being the silver fox still at the bar where 25-year-olds hang out.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, oh my God. You see that guy and you're like, if I am that guy, somebody just take me out back to the woodshed and kick my ass and make sure I never come back here again. You know,
but part of that reason is that guy probably doesn't even know he's that guy, you know, and that's what I wanted to ask Dar, was like, there are things I know I need to change at, but some things maybe I need to change and I don't even know. And what I've been reading is I kind of want to do more of this year's self-reflection, a little bit of self-reflection, but I don't know how or where to start when I do that, because ultimately the reason I haven't started it is because I'm scared of actually kind of looking into myself and what I need to change, but also I just don't know how to do it properly. So how would you recommend going at that?
First of all, I just love this so much because most of the time it is hard because it's like, shiz, once I look in the mirror, like, what do I have to shift?
Yeah.
But the coolest part is just like you're ready now. That's the thing. Like right now you're ready because you're even talking about it. And then I do this activity a lot with honestly most of the people that I coach, and go to 3 to 5 people and shoot them a text or ask them and just say 2 things. If you had to describe me in a paragraph, what would you say? 1, I want you to do this because I want you to see also the good, like what you're reflecting out in the world. Like just ask, if you were to describe me in a paragraph, what would you say? And then if there were things that you thought like you could call me up on, what would they be? There's a difference of being called out and called up. It just gives a different tone when people people that care about you really care. Because then, Azo, what you'll get is you'll get back like this list. And by the way, you could do this as your own self-reflection. Truly, you could be like, okay, how do you believe you're showing up to the world right now? And then you are calling yourself up right now. You know what you could be doing better. And then write 2 to 3 things down that you're like, I want to be better on this. Then every week you pick the day. Sundays tend to be for people like where before you go to bed, take a journal and just go, okay, how did the week close out for me? And then what am I looking forward to this week? How can what were my wins and what were my losses for the week? Just like you do in sports, what was my win and what was my loss? And then make the adjustment for the week. And another added thing could be if there's certain things, put it on a scale 1 to 10 of what you want to get better at, whatever it is, and be honest of this week, where was I on this? If you keep coming up 4 or 5s on things, then we got to shift that and level that up a little bit. And it gives you just an indicator, just like you come off of the ice and be like, how was that practice? Say, Dan, I've been given like 5s. I got to level this up a little bit. We do the same thing in life. Self-inventory is so good.
Yeah,
Dar,
that makes sense.
Dar, I wanted to ask you, like we talked about it a little bit before, and it was maybe last week, but it's actually crazy. There was a video on Instagram, and I don't know if it's necessarily 100% the truth, but what I did see out there was this video of water and it ultimately being frozen into a snowflake, and scientists or whoever was talking to the water with positive affirmations and positivity and I guess good words instilled into this water, the snowflake was able to, come more beautiful, or the shapes were prettier. And it looked a lot cleaner versus a snowflake that the scientists were talking to it in a petri dish of, negativity in words of, criticism.
Yes.
It's crazy how that relates not only to that project, but into real life. Like what you put out there and how you talk to yourself and how you show up every day is actually becomes true. And that's the craziest, most wild thing that I've tried to grasp around in the last couple of years, because you can get caught in that negative feedback loop. And a lot of the times that shit actually becomes true, what you're saying, or a version of it. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, the more positivity you have, the more you're able to communicate in,
you feel it.
Right?
Yeah, you feel it's so real. I mean, there's so many studies on this. It's insane. And so when we set the intention and what we say to ourselves, and literally even every day, like you start your day with like fueling yourself with like the right words. This means your thoughts, the way you talk to yourself, the people around you. If you're around negative people saying negative stuff all the time, energetically, that's going to literally rub off on you. It's just going to be, and quantum physics, energy is real. That's why those studies are so good. If you put a negative word in water, they did this, it ended up building mold, but a positive word in water didn't. It's so what we put into us, affects us. And also what you focus on, you feel, and you move in that direction. So if you keep focusing and harboring on the bad or even problems, you're going to keep feeling this spiral down. So what you have to do is you have to reframe it, reset it, and then start giving yourself truth statements. So like when someone came off the ice one time and they're like, I suck, I'm horrible, like this is ridiculous. And I was like, hold up, you get like 2 more seconds of that. And he's like, did you not see the game? I was like, oh, the game sucked, but you don't. Like, you don't. Let's change that. You're the 1%. There's no way you suck. You play, the game was bad. We had a lull, like, no big deal. But the reframe is so important, and how we talk to ourselves. And if you don't reframe it, you will start to feel it, and that affects your play. It affects how you show up every day. So the power of your words plays into all of how you're going to show up.
So how would you tell someone to go about that? Because a lot of times I think people, they actually, in a weird way, maybe enjoy the negativity or just motherfucking, or, this day sucks. It's like, dude,
100%.
it's 8:17 in the morning. Like, your day is not ruined yet. Like, so how do you get these people out of that mindset to just go right down to the basement and shoot down with their emotions versus staying even keel and just floating through it and taking the good with the bad? And there's going to be more good than bad. And a quote that we always say over here in our group chat and golf trip is it always works out. Like, have a positive mindset.
It does. I'm a realistic optimist. Like, I'm like, okay, this is going to be hard. We're going to look at this, but we're going to figure it out. We're prepared. And you go with the flow. And as you go with the flow, things just end up working out. If you're trying to force it, if you're being rigid, if you're being negative, you're going to break. It's going to break. Something's going to break. So one is, in your group, if people are being negative, you literally have to say to everyone, like, listen, everyone gets like 5 more minutes of this and then we're done. Like, we're not going there anymore. Someone's got to toe the line on what keeps coming through. Because if no one holds the line, then that's just going to go on all day. And you have to do it for yourself. So say you have a shitty day, like it's really bad one day and things are happening. Give yourself, maybe it's an hour, depending on what happened. Maybe it's 24 hours, depending on what happened. Call someone, get it out, talk it out. And then you draw the line and say, tomorrow, I got to let this go. Because if I don't let it go, it's coming in. You know how, like, in sports, it's play the play. You have to let it go. It's the same for every day for us. At some point, you have to let it go, play the play, and move forward. In golf, once you move to the next hole, that last hole is done. That club goes in the bag. It's over. You get up to the next tee and you start again. But that's how mentally we have to go at things. And there's going to be different problems that hold us a little bit longer. Like when I lost my parents, that obviously is a lot harder. So that's not going to be done for me in 2 seconds. But there's going to be times where even now it'll come on. I'll be like, damn, I'll call or I'll talk about it. And then I'm like, all right, I got to move on, because we got to like live life. We can't be stuck in where things are. We have to move forward. So that's how you reframe it and get through it. Play the play and where you are. Give yourself a time limit and then move forward.
Is it possible to just brush some of these things off to the side? Like, my my girlfriend Gabby right now wants me to talk about my feelings more, but I'm like, you know what? It doesn't actually make me feel that good to tell you my problems, because then you kind of, tell me you might think they're dumb or whatever.
Right.
I might just be better off burying this hatchet and never really thinking about it ever again.
Some things, Azo, some things are going to be, you don't have to stay in something for hours. You don't have to talk about something for hours. You might have to get it out. You might have to bring something to the surface so that it doesn't come out in you later, where you're edgy 5 days later, or you're annoyed or you're resentful, whatever that is. There might be something where you have to get it out. You're going to get comfortable being uncomfortable, talk about it. But honestly, give you and your girl, like, hey, we're going to give ourselves like 20 minutes to talk about this. Then I'm going to have to move forward. You have to figure out what works for you. And there's some times where you are going to have to compartmentalize so you could get up and go do the things that you have to do. And then there's going to be times that you are going to have to talk about your feelings, because anxiety pops up, like however it manifests, it comes later. It's like, honestly, how Kevin Love, 2 years after losing his grandma, thought he was having a heart attack in the middle of the game. And it had nothing to do with that. So I'm saying there are times that you have to talk about things. You can't bury it. But what the world is getting caught up in is talking about problems ad nauseum now. It's like, let's keep talking.
Yeah.
You can only talk about it so long. Then you have to move the flip forward. You have to. So there's a balance there that has to happen. And I'm not a component of going back and talking about the same problem for 1 year. That's why I don't believe therapy talk just to talk for a year about the same problem. That's never, ever going to help someone. You have to have solutions to the problem.
I like that.
Yeah, just I don't know, Dar. You like it's almost now a lot of the times it's like let's just self-diagnose on WebMD or let's go over to our local doctor or whoever we're gonna see, therapist, and let's try to find a problem versus maybe just maybe taking a step back and try to just do some natural remedies or maybe that's just part of being a human. One would say
1,000%. We have made what's just hard become like. Now I'm anxious. Well, part of like going through hard stuff is like it gets your adrenaline going, but that doesn't mean you have anxiety. Doesn't mean you have depression. Like going through things that I've gone through in my life doesn't mean I'm depressed. It's like, oh, I lost my parents. Well, I wasn't depressed after. Like that's just grieving. But we start to go, oh, and people sit in it, and it's like, oh, you must be depressed now, or no. Like it's just part of life, and we give these titles and diagnoses that are not there. And I think people ruminate too much on problems, way too much on stuff.
So when you're fixated or quote unquote stuck in something and you just seem to not be able to get out of it, you maybe can't get out of bed. It's on your mind constantly. It's just in that frontal cortex of your brain and it's driving you insane to the point of, it derails a lot of your day-to-day activities. How do you get through that? How do you, what is like the first couple steps for people to kind of work through it and start seeing maybe a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel?
So when something is starting to affect your daily life, that it's hard for you to function, that's where then it's probably something that's more diagnosable. Honestly, when your everyday life is now affected, whether that's alcohol, OCD, anxiety or depression, where you are having a hard time functioning. Now we just moved from that's just life to this is now affecting your life. So that's when I would say talking to someone and getting some treatment and finding some tools that are going to help you. So one is if someone came to me and was like, Dar, I can't stop ruminating on this. I would say, okay, what are we identifying? What is it that's the problem? Then I would say, okay, we have to tell the brain what is truth and what is false. Because sometimes we're giving ourselves and we're talking to ourselves about the same thing over and over. And I'm like, we got to break the pattern. We have to do a pattern break. And we write it down. We say, okay, what you're saying to yourself is more false than is truth. What's the truth to this? Here's the solution. The brain just needs a pattern interruption, and it needs to know that we have a way forward. And if it knows a way forward, then we could start shifting it. And then I say, okay, you actually have to put, like I just said in the time limit, you have to put a time limit. And I need you to break this pattern by go do something else. I need you to go to a workout in. I want you to go watch something comedy. I need you to go sit with friends in connection and community. So you're listening to other conversations than your own voice, because we don't want to keep listening to ourselves. We either have to talk to ourselves and feed it what it needs to, or we have to do a pattern break and go do something else, because you'll get stuck in that loop, and that loop is like quicksand.
Yeah, it is. And then sometimes if you've been in that for 6 to 12 months, maybe you just need a buddy to look at you and say, dude, stop being such a fucking bitch. Like, maybe you need some tough love.
I would actually want my friend to tell me that, because that would work on me. Like, hey, buddy, you're being soft.
Yeah.
Toughen up.
And that would.
You're probably right.
And with certain people, that's what I mean. Each person needs something different. Like Ozzo, if you were ruminating on something for 6 months, we'd all be like, all right, we got to cut this pattern now. Like, get off that train. We're getting on a new train now. We got to interrupt this pattern. You need to pick up something new in your daily routine.
Yeah.
Ozzo, here is a non-government mandated 5 grams of mushrooms, buddy. Let's go play some golf. And you know what? I don't know if any doctor, Coach Dar necessarily wouldn't recommend this, but this is what I'm going to do for you over here at 93.1. So, we're going to keep this one off the books, and hopefully you don't go to Narnia and never come back. But that's what we're going to do, fella. We're gonna try to rewire some hardware up there and see what happens.
I'm willing to try whatever works.
Ayahuasca journey for you.
Yeah, 100%.
Go meet Aaron Rodgers and go on a journey.
Yeah, is he done or what? Is A-Rod's done, guys? Is he done?
He didn't have that bad of a season, and their team sucked. No bad coaches, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. He's going to go on a journey and maybe listen to what's told to him, whether he should go forward or not.
Just sit in a room of darkness and see what happens. But
hey, I just want to say I commend him, like in the sense, like I really do. Like this has worked for him. And when he went and did his ayahuasca journey and came back, his teammates were talking about, like, he showed up better as a human. Like, he showed up better caring about them. He was less selfish and became selfless. And he, like, as a human, the guys have talked about him showing up just better. And I will tell you, every friend that I have that's done ayahuasca, the thing that everyone comes back to is like, they're like, you just love things more. You just like feel it and love it more. And you don't, again, flow. You don't let the little things trip you up as much anymore. So I'm happy you did.
Sounds pretty nice to me. I mean, sometimes I get so mad at myself that I've wasted like 1 to 2 hours of my day being pissed off over something that ultimately doesn't even matter at all. And then you realize it after and you're like, God, I just wasted so much time there being mad about something just so stupid where and then I'm pissed at myself for doing it.
And then you're beating yourself up for that.
Yeah.
Does Frontier or Spirit fly down to Costa Rica? I might have to start looking at quotes here.
Is that where it is? Costa Rica?
Yeah. That's where he went.
That's where he went. Johnny Tays went. There's a lot of people that go down to that Costa Rica retreat. And
then you're just sitting with like tribe members, right? Like you're in a tribe, like wearing like just a little like, bikini bathing suit, like with a spear in your hand and smoking ayahuasca.
Yeah, you got
day's journey.
You got some war paint on, like your Mel Gibson and Braveheart, and you're doing it. You got a banana hammock kind of little Speedo on, and
yeah.
You're throwing up, puking, shitting at the same time, and all of a sudden you come out of it, and damn, I feel pretty good.
That sounds good about that. There's
not
that. No.
Did you watch that Netflix special?
Enigma, yeah.
Yeah, I watched the first one, the first episode there, and when we were in Salt Lake or in Deer Valley, actually, we threw it on, and I thought it was pretty good. I mean, there are like, I mean, that's my quarterback, right? That was my guy. My whole childhood coming up from Green Bay, went from Brett Dick Pick Favre over to Aaron Rodgers, and that was always my guy. So to see that, and even just like the little stories of letting like one of his offensive linemen fly on a private jet, he took care of it. Like, I ultimately think A-Rod is a good dude. Is he a little out there? Yeah, but that's not bad. It's not a bad thing. That's him.
I mean, honestly, if you look at greats, Steve Jobs is out there. Elon Musk is out there.
Yeah, they all are.
Jeff Bezos out there. Kobe out there. Like, the greats are not the norm, and there's a reason for that. Like, there's an obsessiveness. There is this discipline. They have a way to see things that people don't see, and then by the time it starts happening, they're like, oh, that does work. But all the way up, they're like, you're crazy. The crazy ones are the ones that end up changing the world.
Yeah. You're a little bit autistic, or you have some sort of tick that kind of makes you go. So Dar, I wanted to ask you that. I had that written down. Like, what separates greats from everyone else, even the good players in the league? What separates these guys like McJesus in hockey, Mamba, as I loved him in basketball, LeBron, even throw him in that category? Like, what makes these guys, obviously their work ethic, their obsessiveness, but like working with even high level CEOs, athletes, and just different people in and around the world like you have, what is the one common theme?
I mean, honestly, what I just started to say is I see the guys in the league that are good and they're coasting and they're good. And then the greats, they're the differentiator. They're the outliers. Even in the 1%, they're the 1% of the 1%ers. And there is an obsessiveness to be great, to be better. They cannot settle for average. They are always looking for, where's my slight edge? Where can I get a little bit of an edge in my mental, in my physical, in my recovery? What can I do to make this better? Can I see things before, like a CEO, that one of the CEOs I work with, they got to 10 billion. Now we're at 10 billion. The goal is we're going to 20 billion. That's a lot that has to happen to get to 20 billion. But that's the same as someone in sports that's like, we're coming back and we're going to win again year after year. They see what others don't, and they believe. The other thing is they have this belief that it can happen. And not that good don't, but there is a confidence that they're doing everything they can to bring this to the table. And they show up every day. And I will tell you that most of the greats do not have balance. There's not a balance in their life.
No.
There really isn't, because they're so obsessed by it. But we're sending people to the freaking moon right now. Like, there was an obsessiveness that happens to this. There's people that have back-to-back champions that they said couldn't be done. But there's an obsessiveness. There's a confidence. There is consistency and discipline. That's the other thing. There's no let up on their consistency. Why? Because they see the version of who they want to be, and they're going after this until they get it.
That's the battle. I don't think any of those guys are actually truly ever happy, because they're always wanting more, which is my battle, which is like, that's great. You always want more. You're always going to push yourself. But then there comes a time where it is nice to be a little content and be happy with what you have at the same time. But as soon as you do that, then you're not progressing and getting better. So it's a very hard equation there to figure out.
It's mental warfare for all. I mean, like, it's hard to find a balance. And what I'll try to say, working with some of the greats, I know who I'm working with. And I'll say, okay, I don't want you to forget the small wins. Like, I want you to be able to be grateful for where you are today, but I know you're going to push for where you're going to tomorrow. And I'm excited for you to push there, because I really believe that's part of why they're here. Like, they're here to blaze this trail. And so we have to let them go do that, because they're going to do it. But I help them just say, like, everyone around them needs to make sure, like, let's still celebrate this win right now. Like, don't forget what's right in front of you right now. But to try to I will never make someone say, let's go have a balanced life. Like, that's such bullshit. Like, that will never happen. And I'll pull part of their juice right out if I try to convince them of that. So,
yeah.
And then there's other people that is not going to be their journey, but they are damn good. And they are showing up, and they are doing exactly what they're supposed to do too. And they're enjoying it a little bit more. So it's a decision. Every day is a choice of where you're going with it. But everyone can make the choice of, like, hey, I'm going to do my best at where I am, what I have right now.
Dar, the word delusion, when someone tells me you're delusional, I take that as a compliment. So when you're talking about greats, you're talking about people in their craft, and especially when they're just embarking on their adventure, whether they're a young student coming out of college, whether in a career transition, maybe they're just fucking going for it for the first time in their life. Delusion is something you need to have, and it's something you need to use as a strength. So when you're talking to people and giving advice, you have to almost just buy into that and embrace it and be that way, because otherwise these goals and these dreams, they're going to seem so far-fetched or not, attainable.
Right. Two things on that is, I absolutely agree. You have to be somewhat delusional on where you're going. As long as you're in your skill set, I'll allow this delusion to happen. The example I always give is, I'm never going to be a WNBA player. I'm 5'2". There's no way I could have all the delusion in the world that I'm going to make it to the WNBA. That's never been my goal. But say that was a goal, that would be so unrealistic of a delusion, because no one 5'2" is making it in the WNBA. But in my gifts and talents that I was given, I could set this goal, like, this is where I want to go and this is where I want to be. And oh my gosh, my whole life, people have been like, you're delusional. When I set out to go create what I did, my own father was like, do you have a brain injury? No one is going to be listening on mindset. This is like way back when no one was talking about mental performance. And I'm like, no, I understand this. I'm going to speak. I was speaking for free about this shiz, because I was like, people need to understand how your brain will help you to become great. And my whole family thought it was delusional, but it was within my giftedness that obviously helped me to get to where I'm going. So you have to be delusional. That's what Elon Musk is like. We're sending people to space. Do you know people told Tesla, self-driving cars? Are you crazy? Everyone thought Steve Jobs was crazy. So I have the Steve Jobs quote that I keep in my office. It's like, it's the crazy ones who actually change the world. So yeah, I am full in support of being delusional within your gifts to believe you can do it. Because if you don't believe in it, there's no way. When I work with a guy and I'm like, do you think you could win the Stanley Cup? Do you think you're going to get to the NBA finals? If they're like, I don't know, maybe. I'm like, well, that's not going to cut it. I don't even care if your team's not expected. I mean, a friend of mine's on Cleveland. And at the beginning of the year, if you say Cleveland's going to be where they are in the NBA, most people would be like, no way. But they were like, hell yeah, we have a shot. But most wouldn't think they would have got there, but they believe they do. And in that locker room, they believed it the whole time.
Yeah.
Same with the Vikes this year. Same with the Vikes this year, Jordo.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see on the Vikings there. Darnold, I think he's gonna at playoff time he might turn into a little shaky.
Didn't look good last week.
A little shaky Darnold once he starts playing good teams. But that's such a good point, Dar. Like Cleveland versus everybody, Elon Musk. I mean, we're gonna be there might be a bar on the moon or Mars here soon. We might be shuttling up, trying to make last call up there. But the thing is, I think people need to really understand. We talked about energy. We talked about different things of what you put out there, you're going to get back in your way, is creating your team. Now, if you were in sport, you had your groups of guys. If you're in life, you have your family. But surrounding yourself with different people and like-minded individuals, and actually people that'll challenge you and probably are more successful than you at the time. They have just more wealth or knowledge, or maybe both. That is so huge to get to where you want to go if you do have these aspirations. So, Dar, I just wanted you to kind of touch on that for the people. It's like you can't be hanging out at the local dive bar 7 nights a week with your drunk second cousin and your uncle. There's nothing wrong with that. I love a good dive bar. I like getting shit-faced. But to get to ultimately where you want to go, you have to be cognizant about that, don't you?
You want to be around people that are doing what you're doing and even better, because energy is going to elevate energy. And if people you want to be around people that are elevating your space. So just like you'd want to build a championship team, you want to do that with your friends and the people around you, because otherwise, if they're going against the grain and they're going opposite of where you want to go, it's going to be like a weight that takes you down, and you're going to try to keep pushing and leveling them up. But again, why power over willpower? That energy shift is going to happen. But if you're around people where everyone is like, this is where we're going, this is the level that we're going for, this is how we do it, it's just natural. I mean, there's a group of people that I'm a part of, Path North, and they're all like, they're in their 70s and 80s. And I love going to these events because they've run countries, literally. They're head of the Navy. They're just all amazing people. And when they talk about things, it's so big that it's shifted me to think so much bigger in what we could do. And then even Jordan, as simple as like our workouts, we've worked out consistently. And just by us working out, every time you're like a machine. But by working out near you, I like push myself twice as hard. Versus if I worked out with someone who's like gives up after 2 or 3 reps, I might give up a little bit on it. So like you push me, your energy pushes me. So you have people around you that are going to push you. And I always say, like, people know if they're going to be in my circle, we're raising the bar. Like never when I walk in the room does the bar get lowered. And like how we show up, our energy, even fun, anything. I never want to be the person that I walked in and I brought down the weight of the room. I want to walk in, and everyone should have this. When you walk in, everyone's trying to elevate everyone, not like one up each other, but just like we're all trying to go for just being our best version and having a good damn time doing it.
Yeah. What's the quote? It's like, when you walk into a room, are you a thermostat or a thermometer?
Yes.
Right? Like you want to walk in there and you want to fucking change the temperature of that room, baby. You just don't want to tell it. I walk in with my jumpsuit, my velour on, baby. We going. It's go time. Yeah,
totally. I mean, listen, I love my family to death, but when I go home to visit, they're sitting around a lot. And I'm like, people, we have to get up. We have to work out. We have to go do things. But it's a different culture. It's just a different way. I mean, I love them. They're Italian. They can sit around the table all day. But I kind of had to leave my space for a bit to go elevate where I was going, just because it wasn't going to happen, which is hard. You're going to have to shift people in your world and your life.
Oh, yeah.
Elevate.
It ain't easy, but yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's nice seeing people who live like that that you might not necessarily want to live like, but
Yeah.
you can respect the way they're living, like you can,
I
because
love
they're they love it, but yeah, I mean, it is hard to get away from those people, though, the people that you love that are could be your oldest friends that just are going on a different path. That's a tough deal to change paths and try to create a new circle.
But you got to say, like, hey, you're welcome to come. Like, we're going for greatness. I tell Jordan all the time, Jordan, we're working for a private plane here. We are going so we could fly efficiently here. But the joke is, like, we're going because if anywhere I go, I want to take everyone with me. Like, but it's just like LeBron. We're elevating. And what happens is you're a mirror when you do that. And you're a reflection. And sometimes people are like, I just don't have it in me. It's like, hey, it's okay. When you're ready, though, this is where we're going. And people are either going to come or they're not. And it's not because you don't love them. It's just like, hey, like, we got to go. So if you're not coming, like, I can't help you at that point because it becomes a weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I had a buddy who's playing in the league now, and he was talking to me about different things. I'm like, eventually, would you want to work in hockey? I'm like, yeah, I think like in the right position, I'd want to do something like that. Like, I don't think I'd want to start on the lower levels right now in terms of grinding to the point of going and riding the bus and eating soggy subs of junior hockey. But maybe if the right opportunity in the NHL one day came along, I would entertain it. And he's like, yeah, like, you're like, yeah, that'd be sick. Like, you could be like a skills coach. I go, skills coach? Hey, buddy, I'm trying to own the team. Hey, no disrespect. And we're a long ways from that, but I ain't going to be the skills coach, or I hope I'm not. I'm not. That's not what I'm working for or dreaming for. So, like you said, Coach Dar, like you're working for the private bird, baby. That's why you're grinding in the trenches. And I think to kind of just make this thing come full circle is you gotta have those dreams, and at least for me to reach for the fucking sky, because it is attainable, and you see people that have done it, and you have to put yourself at that same level. If you have that value, it's going to take a while and to climb that mountain, but you can't sell yourself short.
No.
And you have to be around people that are down to have you dream like that. And that's why I always give a credit to, like, when I would talk to my dad, just like positive people in your life of like fucking rights. Like, go chase it, man.
Yeah.
And you can't look at the finish line either when you're running a marathon, because then you're like, there ain't no way I'm getting there. That's fucking impossible.
Yeah.
If you look at that finish line, you know how scary it is. You just got to go brick. I mean, it's cliche, but you do have to go brick by brick, and you just got to look at that next brick and then that next brick. And that's all. That's the only way it's done.
I love that, Azo, because I equate it to, this is easy for Swish over here, but we're climbing Camelback. I'm like halfway, and I'm like, there's freaking like I'm getting winded, and you don't stop. And to me, it looks like ants all the way at the top. I'm like, frick, that's a long way to go. But the whole metaphor is like, you have the vision of where you want to go. Okay, that's the end in mind. And then you just start climbing. And look out, by the way. Look out as you're climbing the mountain so you don't miss the journey along the way. And then when you get winded or you get tired or you get defeated or something's a setback, you stop, you pause, you take a breath, but you don't go back down. You just stop. Don't give up. And then you climb a little bit more. And then eventually you get to the top.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing too, especially when you're in the trenches as in lines of work that we all do as entrepreneurs, is you learn how to rest, not quit. Because what do you always tell me, Dar? It just takes one good year. It's just like it's one good year to change your life. That's it. And you don't know when that's going to come. And usually it's in the 18th hour of, you're like, holy fuck, you're sweating it out a little bit. All of a sudden it pops.
Yeah. I've had things happen. It's 11:58 p.m. and then something comes through, but it does. And you know what? It takes one person, one event, one connection, just something shifts and your whole life. Matthew McConaughey talked about that. He's like, I was walking around. No one knew who the hell I was. I had already done, I forget which movie it was. So it was about to come out. The movie came out. And then literally that next week, he couldn't walk anywhere and his whole life changed. But he had been grinding it forever and ever. And then all of a sudden it was like a shift happened because you put the work in. What people see as success is years and years and years of hard work. It didn't
Right.
happen overnight. This overnight stuff is years of work that looks like it was overnight.
It'd be
Yeah,
nice
it-
to have that overnight stuff, though. I'd sign up.
Oh.
Oh, I mean, yeah, for sure.
People think it's real, and I'm like, that ain't real. If
No.
it was, I'd be signing up.
Yeah, everyone would be.
The best is, oh fuck, he got lucky. What? No, or she got lucky. It's like,
yeah.
no,
No.
you see the tip of the iceberg, but motherfucker, you don't see what's below it. Took that Titanic down. You know what I mean? Like that's a big chunk of time to really get this thing from the roots up.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, freaking life is hard. Like the entrepreneurial journey is hard. Getting to anything, it's freaking hard. So you just got to get used to doing hard, and you got to build endurance, and you have to have good people around you too. That's the other thing. Like trying to do this alone is way too freaking hard. You just have to have good people around you. So when you're down those days or you're exhausted or you can't catch your breath, they help you. And then, or they're like, get the frig up. You still got to go. Like, I'm not letting you quit this, because that's how you keep going. That's how I've gotten anywhere in my life, is the group of people around me.
For sure.
Speaking of a group, we need to put together a group to bring back the Coyote Star, because, you know, we're going to go watch some college hockey this weekend, but it's just not the same, is it? Like, we need hockey back here in the desert.
How could we be the fifth largest city in our country and we don't have the an NHL team?
So dumb.
It's the stupidest thing in the world. We're going to get it back.
We'll get it back, and they'll be the right guys doing it. Hopefully Shane Doan and the likes of other guys like Ray Whitney, the Wizard, and to bring back the squad. But you're going to an association game tonight. Pack the tweezers, baby, because you'll be sitting on the wood as you always do. But I wanted to ask you, what's going on with the Suns? I mean, I'm looking at the standings. We're not even in a playoffs position over here, and we're
They're
talking
looking
about
good.
getting maybe Jimmy Buckets. Like, I don't want Jimmy Buckets coming in here with bad energy either, though, the way he's acting with Pat Riley over there in Miami right now. Like, I know he needs a change of scenery, which is hard to fucking fathom. I mean, if I'm walking out and I'm seeing South Beach every day, I mean, it's the only city in the country you need a passport with the beautiful women down there. But how are you mad, fella? Like, Jimmy, come on, baby. Just realize where you are. You don't want to get shipped to Memphis or something like this. But if he does ultimately come here, do you think that helps a team like Phoenix? I think Jimmy Buckets in the right mindset,
Yeah.
like that playoff run a couple of years ago, if he has that dog in him, I think it would help for sure.
I think Jimmy brings that edge. He brings that dog. He brings a little bit of, he's going to call people up. Chris Paul did that, actually. Chris Paul was chirpy and he would call people up. We need that. And so the Suns are hurting because the chemistry's hurting. There needs to be a few pieces that need to change. And I always go back to when we made it to the finals, there was culture. The team knew exactly what the identity of the team was. They were having so much fun in that locker room. Like, they gelled. They had, Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, and they just had a blast. Book was able to flow the way he needed to. There was a secret sauce. That's why we went to the finals, and some of that's kind of unraveled, and they need to get back to that. This is for any championship team. Doesn't matter whether it's the Suns or why is Cleveland working? That those guys are having so much fun. Listen, when they started the beginning of the season, they didn't have Donovan playing. He was hurt.
Yeah,
But they still were winning.
Mhm.
And then he comes back and he's obviously adding so much value, but they have culture, they have chemistry. Everyone knows their role. They're healthy now. I mean, so there's a lot of things that play into us, but the Suns' magic is a little lost, and we need to shift some.
Isn't it crazy? You can probably feel that energy. The energy is just different in that building this year from when it was. Like, whenever you see a good sports team and then they're bad or whatever the next year, it's like, it just feels different when you're in the building. Like,
Yes.
it doesn't feel good in here.
Yeah. I mean, this actually goes full circle to what we were talking about, like the importance of having the right people seat on the bus, like around you, affects everything. And if you don't have the right chemistry, it's hard to win.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you got your point guard. His first name's Bradley, and he's I don't know, I'm sure Bradley's a nice guy, but we need a dog in there. We need a guy, a floor general. And I think Jimmy Buckets could do that because then that allows D Book to play off the ball. An easy money sniper, as you know, a little washed he is, gives him a different dynamic. But those teams, I just can't believe they got rid of Cam Johnson. Even Cam Payne was smooth with it.
Yeah.
CP
That
smooth.
team was so sick. I can't believe they broke him up.
And Bridges, like they had so many good role players, and everyone knew where to be on the floor. And now it's just like it's like a discombobulated recipe. It doesn't work.
And here's the other thing, Monty, such a good coach. Isn't it ironic right now? Love coach, but he was the coach of Milwaukee when we went to finals. Like he was who we were playing against, and he's our coach now. And it's hard to make work because again, the dynamics are off, the culture's off, the chemistry's off. We need different players. But that team that went to the finals, I've said it many times. Like I don't believe that team should have been. I feel like when the new ownership came in, they should have just left it at least for another year to watch it out to see what before you changed anything. It was like it wasn't broken. Don't change it.
Like you guys just went to the final. You don't have to pull your wrench out just yet and try to flex on the league to bring in KD, which is a name and a depreciating asset. And also, like last year, like you hired Francis Vogel. It's like, dude, that guy looks like he's running a subway on the I-10 at a gas station, the Travel Lodge. Like, come on, Francis. Like, let's be real here. So
Frank doesn't have the look. I'm sorry. He just doesn't.
No swagger. There's no swagger there.
He's selling Kia Sorrentos over at a local used car dealership. That's Frank.
The association has swagger, and he just have it.
Yeah, he just doesn't have it. So, Azo, you have anything else for our great Coach Dar? This has been a hell of a group therapy.
Yeah, no, I got a lot answered. I wanted to ask about the self-reflection and the New
I'm so
Year's
glad
thing.
you did.
Yeah, no, it was. It's always great stuff coming from you, Dar.
So good to see you guys. Seriously.
I know.
Yeah,
it
you as well.
was awesome popping on and hanging out. I mean, we're like five miles away from each other right now, but it's still good hopping on the old Zoom call. My last question was just, it was an easy one, and it was just whatever. I was just going to ask you.
What?
Did he do it?
Talk about putting the wrong people in your circle and how it could bring you down. How about that? Watch who you hang out with.
Yeah. Talk about a guy not afraid to fill a hole, but we'll save that for another day. All right, Coach. Well, that was our group therapy session. We love doing it. You are a reoccurring guest over here. 2025 outlook, different tools people hopefully can use. Not only men out there, females. I think we have probably 2 female listeners. That's Lisa and Kylie Schmaltz. So hopefully that'll be a good use for the female category of our demographic. But as always, it's awesome talking to you. This is like just feels like we're hanging out. So it's always fun.
Bye, guys.
Folks, that was Coach Dar. Azo, tape to tape with Dar, as always.
Feel the